Hello, hello. This is Kim Alexander, Executive Director for Moms of Black Boys United. And I am joined this evening with a special treat with my sister friend, Amber Williams. She is the chapter leader in Houston, Texas. Let me begin first by apologizing. We were scheduled to have Sean Price, and due to unforeseen circumstances, he will not be on, but we are hoping to get him rescheduled soon. But don't fret because we still have a great conversation for you. We will be talking about Mob United, our whys, what chapter leadership looks like, and what it means to be an ally and a support to the organization. Amber, thank you so much for pinch hitting for me on this Tuesday evening. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. It's nice to be able to just kind of jump in. I know the conversation is amazing. It will be because that's just who we are together. So I'm looking forward to good times with you and making sure it's informative for those who are listening in.
Absolutely. So, as you know, this is the New Talk. It is Mob United's new podcast. It is for moms of Black boys. And that just means that we are having, in depth conversations and really changing the talk. And when we launched the podcast, we talked a lot about how we got to that title. And I don't know if I've repeated that very often. So I'm going to start out by just saying the new talk. And the reason why it's the new talk is because we here at Mob United want to change how we talk to our sons, why we talk to our sons, and how we talk about our sons. And we know that, that's different than what we've had to do historically. And I think that's a great segue to go to you, Amber, and you can tell us how you came about Mob United, why you're a part of Mob United, and what it means to you to be on the front lines with us.
Ooh, that's a loaded question. My story with Mob United started back in, I want to say 2016. Wow. First of all, I'm a mom of two boys. So I'm going to say boy mom. I enjoy that title. I haven't been blessed with any girls, but boys, it's different bringing them up in this world. And as a mom doing that, I was very, cognizant of the challenges and trying to be there for them in the ways that they needed me to be. But right around this time, I always got to tell my eye story when it comes to this, and y'all have to excuse me if I get emotional because it still gets me to this day. But there was a young man by the name of Jordan Edwards. And it was here in Texas, and he was about 15 years old. And when I tell you, I saw my sons in this boy. He was a freshman in high school, good grades, football team, all of that. And he happened to be at a location of some sort of house party or something like that, where police ended up being called to the scene. And he and his brother were in a vehicle driving away from the scene, away from the police. When police shot into his car, he was struck in the head and he was killed. And, at that point, it was so many what we call hashtags, these stories of our Black men, young, old, or what have you, who were dying at the hands of police. But this one, it struck me in a way that the other ones hadn't. And a good friend of mine, Alicia, said, I have someone I want you to talk to. I have an organization that I think you will like. And when it comes to referrals, your friends know you best, so it's going to be a good match. So I said, I'll give it a chance. I'll listen. And that was how I got introduced to you. And I heard that New York accent coming through the phone real strong and heavy. But the organization and the passion behind it, I knew I wanted in some way and somehow. And so that's when I started, kind of jumping in and seeing where I could fit. And that's when I realized I didn't want to just participate. I wanted to do more. What can I give? And my passion is leadership and organization and all those kinds of things. And there was space and opportunities to support my friend, and then you, my newfound friend, in the work. And so I jumped in, head first, feet first, whatever you want to call it. And I was in that thing. So, a lot of things were forming, and I took the opportunity to say, hey, Houston is a big city. We need representation down here, and I don't mind taking, some hand in that and some lead. And so it was very exciting to get started with the work. And I just really felt like I was doing something, but then also setting an example for my boys.
Right.
Not just about us, me and them, but it's so many that look like you, the ones you go to school with, the ones you are, neighbors with, and things like that. And we can all be a part of it. So that was how I got started.
Yeah. I remember the first time you guys came over to my house, we went swimming in the dark. I never forget that. We went night swimming.
Right. That was a good meetup. That was a really good meetup.
It was a great meetup. And I hear you when you tell the story about Jordan Edwards, and it is actually the conviction of his killer was something like 20 something years, was the first time a police officer had actually been indicted and convicted of one of these murders. And shout out to Peggy, who was at the time the chapter leader out
That's
in
right.
Dallas. She partnered with Lee Merritt, civil rights attorney, and was able to support the family there, and attended the first press conferences, and really, really, what we say, boots on the ground, feet to the
Yes.
street. She was on it. I'll never forget that. My had already been involved in the organization for a while, but I remember the one that shook me the most, and that was Botham Jean. And the
Yes.
reason why it did was because I worry when you pass my threshold, right? And you're going outside. And I worry when you're in your car.
Yeah.
And I worry when you're in school. But the one place that I thought I could keep my children safe was in my home. And then that happened.
That's right.
And then Breonna Taylor happened.
That's right.
And it changed how I felt about what home looked like for me.
Yeah.
And I remember that being a time that I had to kind of step back, because it really, it rocked me to my core. The idea that this intelligent Black man was in his house minding his business, and somebody bust open his door and just took him out just like that.
That's right.
And so, we can go down a rabbit hole of a lot of these kinds of conversations. But these are the reasons why, right? These are the reasons why we have become mothers on the front line. And so many of us came together as strangers.
Right.
I want to talk a little bit about chapter leadership.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Why don't you start out by giving us a summary of what chapter leadership is?
Well, I can't say it'll be a textbook definition. It'll be my definition. And I do think that, from city to city, it looks slightly different for everyone. So I do have to say that, here in Texas, Houston, we're a very blue city and a red state. So sometimes dynamics are just a little bit different, and it's huge. The time it'll take you to drive across, the greater Houston area, I would have driven across New York already. So we know it's a little different here. But for me, chapter leadership, for one, is about mobilizing the moms in the area, letting them know that we're not alone in this. So many times the things that we're feeling as individuals, as parents, as mom, the things we're going through with our boys, it can be hard to find those support systems in those circles. And MOBB United isn't just about, this part. It's about how we raise our boys, how we support them, how we treasure them, educate them, and all those things. And so letting the moms in the Houston area know that they have a support system. That's why we call ourselves the aunties and all those kinds of things, when we're able to look out for the ones who are away from home and things of that nature. So that was part of it. I really looked for the sisterhood that I found in it, because without MOBB, I wouldn't have been able to meet you, Kim, and that's been a blessing. And I know that there's been other relationships that have been forged through what we do in the chapters. But then also it's about the localization of the efforts. Right. The politics, the legislature, the happenings are often city specific. There are some things that Atlanta is going to feel or LA is going to feel and know about very quickly that I won't. And the same thing here in Houston. And so the ability to respond quickly to things that happen and to respond to what's happening specifically in our areas and be advocates for what's on the ballot right now in our area that's going to impact our day-to-day lives. That was really important to me. You know, I already have networks down here of a variety of people in a variety of areas. So how we leverage those things in our own community to drive the change, you know, because that's where we live. This is where we're going to operate in our own communities. So what does it look like for our PD? All police departments are not created equal, you know, and so the things that we're dealing with in our community can look very different than the next city over. And so that special kind of focus there has been very important. But then also the chapter leadership sisterhood between all of us who are doing the work and being able to share experiences and ideas and things of that nature is very powerful as well. So this network that we're creating both personally, but then also for the organization is really what we're about.
Right. And I think it's really important that we kind of hone in a little bit on the difference in locales, because
Yes.
this is a pivotal election year.
Yes.
No, and not that all of them are not important, but we know, you know, it feels like the more and more we operate in this democratic process, the more interesting it gets. But
Yes.
at the end of the day, you know, the federal election is one thing, but
Yes.
the local elections impact us so closely and so close
Yes.
to home. And far too many people stay home for the local elections, you
That's
know.
right.
Um, I use the analogy a lot uh, when it came to the pandemic, when we had a federal body making decisions for the conglomerate, right, the United States, and then we had governors who govern, right, who are like, I'm not doing that, and I'll do that, but I'm not doing this. And it really was the perfect example of how federal and local operate, in that they're all different.
That's
And
right.
that's true for police chiefs, and it's true for district attorneys, and it's
That's
true
right.
for school boards, and it's true for so many different things that we turn a blind eye to.
That's
And
right.
we don't really know how we're being impacted. So, you know, I appreciate having the local chapters, even as executive director, be able to shoot me an email and say, hey, you know, this is what's going on here.
That's
You
right.
know, can we respond to this? Because I live in Houston, and like you said, I don't know what's happening in Florida, and I don't know what's happening in New York if somebody's not surfacing that. And so it makes you guys so important. You guys are the tentacles to Mob United in that way. And it allows us to show up.
That's right.
And we say we are a resource and a voice. And the reason why we can scream loud and the reason why we can connect is because we have chapter leaders,
That's
you
right.
know. And so I'm so proud of the connections we've made, and I'm so proud of the work that's being done, even as we continue to revamp and recruit and, you know, have more people come on board. You know, so tell us a little bit about your boys. How old are they? What
Yeah. Oh goodness, I feel like I have grown men now. Because when I started this, they were so little. But my oldest is 19, going on 20, and my youngest is 14, just made 14, and
Mm,
they're both taller than me. You know, I
mm,
knew that when they were little that they were going to be taller than me, but I'm looking not even in the eye, looking up at them. You know, facial hair, all those kinds of things, and they're both good boys. I love them dearly. You know, I've poured my heart and soul into them, and they've given me so much back. You know, and the older that they get, the more independent that they get. You
mhm.
know, I want them to be able to have their wildest dreams. You
Right.
know, to have the support and the encouragement, the resources, everything that I can give them to feel like they have choices, that they have opportunity, you know, all those kinds of things. And so I have one that's off in college. The other one is a freshman in high school. And
It is so.
I know, right? The babies that you remember in the swimming pool, they don't exist anymore. But do you know how hard it is to send your boy off to college? Like, and that was rhetorical. I know you do, but just it's you have to let go. You have to trust. Like, like it's said that all you can do is aim the arrow, but then at some point you have to let it go and trust that it goes in the direction that you've aimed it. And you know just with everything that's going on, you want them to be safe. You want them to be educated and knowledgeable with common sense and wherewithal to understand their surroundings. But then to still also feel like they can be themselves. I know how the world sees them. They're Black men to the world, even though my 14-year-old is literally only 14. And I want them to have their childhood and have their youth without feeling like they have to be forced into this package of what a man is as they're perceived, in society. And so I indulge them a bit, I admit, because I want them to enjoy vacations where they could be a kid and being goofy and, all of those kinds of things. And I love it. Their smiles, just light up a room to be able to put a smile on my kiddo's face. But they are why I do what I do, because I really want them to have a rich, fulfilled, long life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So on the new talk, we're changing how we're having conversations, but we also know that part of our jobs as moms and the reality of our environment is having certain kinds of conversations with them. So as you sent that big boy off to college, talk about a little, tell us what kind of conversation did you have with him? What was
I mean, it's a lot of it because it's just there's the regular conversations of dealing with teenagers, and we won't tap into that right now. But letting them know that there are situations where they have to think a little differently. They have to handle themselves a little differently because of how they're perceived. And I'm not going to lie, I have people kind of down in that city that kind of keep eye and report, and things of that nature. But, letting them know, hey, watch how many people you in a group with and what attention that you're bringing. If it's after hours, you need to be mindful of your surroundings and don't give anybody a reason to stop you, to question you, things of that nature. You have to have the talk about drugs, alcohol, and sex and all those types of things that come with it. But also knowing that they're perceived just a little bit differently. And when they come into contact with any kind of authority, as I said, I need you to come home to me. So please just follow directions and you can explain to me anything that you want to explain about the situation. We can explain it to the judge. But that officer's job is to do what he needs to do in that moment. You just follow directions and I'll deal with the rest and I got your back. But those are some of the more critical conversations that we have. Not, how many people are riding in the car, and be mindful of what your friends got on them because it causes problems for everybody, if you are stopped, things of like that. And so it's nerve-wracking to think of all the things that could happen and could go wrong, and just keeping the lines of communication open. Hopefully my son won't mind me sharing his story, but got, as a mom, once again, you do get in that moment where you're like, okay, I'm not gonna worry so much. Things seem to calm, and I got that one late night phone call.
Yeah.
And he had been robbed. And the hurt and pain and anger in his voice, and knowing that I was hundreds of miles away and I couldn't do anything about it in that moment, except try to reason with him and let him know I was there for him. I would take care of everything he had lost, and things of that nature. But this is the reality, of things that they're exposed to and they have to be mindful of. And so, yeah, that those conversations are hard, but at the end of the day, I have to trust him to make some good decisions and just be there for him.
Yeah. You said robbed, and I'm so sorry that he experienced that. But I can't help but think about all of the things I feel like our boys are robbed of.
Mm-hmm.
We're robbed of allowing the innocence of our young boys and young men, and they are robbed of that same innocence. And I feel like it continues to just kind of wear and tear on you.
Mhm.
Um, Tell us a little bit about the connections you've made with other moms. How does that feel personally? Like,
It's to be able to speak to other moms
mm,
and be vulnerable about what we're dealing with our boys, to share approaches of the conversations that we have, or just to have someone else in the room that can have a similar conversation. You know how kids won't receive it from you, but they receive it to, and from my boys, everybody that's a friend or, associate of mine, they're going to call them auntie,
mm,
what have you. And when they say the same thing that I've been telling them, and they receive it from them, one part of me is a little annoyed, but the other part is glad that they received the message. And just being able to love on other people's children. I'm an educator by trade, and so that always fills my cup. And so I think most valuable, though, is just being able to be vulnerable with others and say what you're struggling with, or what you're afraid of, or needing insight or advice on how to approach some of these conversations has been really pivotal. But I do want to say, in times of crisis, that
mm,
piece right there is it can't even be described on how valuable it is. I was chapter leader during Hurricane Harvey here in Houston,
mm,
and just know it didn't have anything to do, with the mission, other than we were sisters in this, and we
mm,
needed to make sure that everybody was okay. And
mm,
it was a concerted effort to know that everybody in Houston who was part of MOBB had support and wellness checks and things of that nature to make sure that they were taken care of. And
mm.
that's hard to put a value on, or to measure, or to articulate, to know that you have those kinds of support systems.
Absolutely. When we came together in 2016, so many of us were strangers, and life has happened. We've lived through the pandemic. We lived through Hurricane Harvey. We've lived through people losing parents, me included. And you're right. It's so invaluable, the just the camaraderie, but the show up for each other,
That's right.
and the show up for the extended everything.
That's right.
Um, and so, if you had to give a 90-second pitch on why chapter leadership should happen, let's go for
Ooh,
it.
ooh.
This is
Uh,
your commercial.
my commercial. I wasn't prepared for the elevator speech, right? But the job, the role, because we do this in our free time. We're volunteering for this. But it is so instrumental in making sure that our boys are safe, secure, and protected,
Mm,
but also for us. It's not just giving service to others, it's for us in our community. And for me, taking a role of advocacy and leadership, there's a sense of ownership that I have over the well-being of all of these boys that fall under our umbrella, but the success of the organization and the ability to create these bonds and systems and networks that we have, that even after our boys are grown, they're still going to be ours, but we have each other in that sisterhood.
mm,
And for me, to know that I have a hand in facilitating those relationships, helping people make connections, being that impactful in these junctures of people's lives, whether they're moms or the boys that they're parenting, that truly fills my cup. So if you are motivated to do more, to be the change that you want to see in the world, this is the role that allows you to do all of those things, from the super fun things, with the sisterhood and the meetups and the social events, to the hard work of making political change and social change and community change. All of it together just creates this place where you're writing your own little pocket of history by being a part of this. And I wouldn't trade that for the world. So if you have the capacity and the desire, if you come ask questions, come see what you can do to participate, and we'll support you every step of the way. You have hands that will hold yours, when you go through the process. But this role is important, and it's influential, and it's just this gateway into being such an impact
mm.
in so many lives, and that's what I appreciate.
Absolutely. If you are interested in being a chapter leader, you can email me directly. My email address is kim.alexander@mobunited.org. Visit our website, www.mobunited.org. Ask questions like Amber said. Come on for a trial period, see what it is all about. It is, we have built relationships that I would not trade for the world. And I came into this in 2016, and my mantra was no new friends.
And now look at you.
I know, right? It's it's shameful, but yes, I like my mantra. Really, it was no new friends, and I don't know. We got like 40 friends in common now, Amber. um,
Right.
February is Loving on the Black Man Month.
Yes.
One of the things that we will never stop doing is highlighting and showcasing the beauty that is our sons at all ages. We are moms of Black boys, but my boy is 25 and he's a grown man, but he is still my boy. And my other boy is hiding over here in the corner. And he's 17 and he's gonna always be my boy. And it doesn't matter, who was that? Big Daddy Kane said take him 8 to 80. We take him 8 to 80. And it doesn't matter.
Right.
And our sons live in a society that is constantly telling them that they are less than. They are less than. And Mob United, we thought it was important to say, no, we love you.
That's right.
We love you. We love you in all your flaws. We
Mm-hmm.
love you when you're right. We love you when you're wrong. We are giving you grace. We are giving you compassion. We are giving you empathy. We are giving you all of these things because you are worthy of that. And so we have dedicated this month to showcasing and highlighting that love. What does that mean to you, Amber?
I loved the theme when I first heard it. And, I first thought as our sons, and I told you how when they smile, it just lights up the room for me. That truly makes me happy. But I thought of all the other Black men in my life. I have brothers, I have a father, I have a fiance, and, they still go out into this world every day where they have to deal with who knows what, and what they're being told and how they're treated. And just to take that intentional moment, 29 days of moments, to let them know that they are loved and they are cared for and they are treasured. And they don't have to do anything to earn that other than to just be. And it just kind of reminds me of the theme of Black History Month. And a lot of times people feel like we have to be excellent to be recognized. We have to be the first of or the best of to be recognized. And I just want them to know, from the smoothness of their Black skin to the kinkiness of their hair to those thick lips and those wide nostrils, those hands that have done so much, that we love them just for that, and let them know that we are here for them. They are appreciated. We want their voices to be amplified. We want to understand their perspectives and where they're coming from. And we don't want to add to the mess that they're dealing with in their world.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said that better myself. It is truly a testament and a statement of our first pillar, changing perceptions, right? We have worked so hard at Mob United to have our sons seen just as they are, just as they are, for the 14-year-old, 17-year-old, 20-year-old that they are, and in purity, because they deserve that, right? Like we could keep saying that, we could keep saying it, we could keep saying it, they
Yeah.
deserve it. And so um I really believe that the other message, and underneath that Protect Them campaign that we have been pushing for so long, is grace.
Yeah.
It's grace. And we've been sharing some statistics and we've talked about things like, the life expectancy of the Black man is the lowest it's been in 22 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we've talked about how stress and anxiety and depression has impacted our young men. And Mob United will be launching the Grace campaign.
It's beautiful.
And the Grace campaign is just that. You can be flawed. You
Mm-hmm.
can even think that you are broken,
Yeah.
but we will still see you. And it's near and dear to my heart because I think we've been very, very intentional about the messaging that we've put out and what it is that we've said. But the bottom line is, I don't want to keep creating trauma in my household because society tells me I have to. I want to say it's okay for you to make a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it's okay for you to be wrong. And it doesn't change at all who you are, the core of you, the essence of you, and what you are going to do in this world. And um, I think that's so important. And as an educator, tell me how you have seen
Mm.
the lack of grace impact your community in schools.
Kim, that's a loaded question. And you're about to bring me to tears on this in this conversation because, taking it to this systemic thing,
Mhm.
this education and the whole education system has such an impact, in our children's lives. They spend more time at school than they do with us, let's be honest.
Mhm.
And what happens in our schools is they are treated like prisoners. They're already expected that they're going to misbehave, and so their freedoms are taken away. You have the uniforms or the standardized dress, the no free time, no conversation, every minute of the day structured, all these kinds of things, and then they don't get grace for their mistakes.
Mhm.
Our Black boys are disproportionately removed from classrooms,
Mhm.
removed from schools, put into juvenile detention centers for things that children of other demographics would be given grace for. They would be given accommodations for. They would be, it's a whole different manner of treatment. And so when we begin talking to them and treating them like that at a young age, what do you think they're going to think about themselves and how they're going to value themselves? And those biases continue all the way up to how they're treated in the streets by law enforcement, all those types of things we see. And it's an epidemic, in the safety of our schools and how our young boys, young Black boys are treated in those schools. It's problematic, and when they're academically behind as well, the way that they're treated, they're removed from electives and ancillary courses for remediation and things that make them hate learning,
Mhm.
and it's unfortunate and it's infuriating,
Mhm.
at this point. And so yes, they need grace. They need to be given that consideration of, hey, maybe you're having a bad day, or what's going on with you, or how can I help you, or what can I do for you, rather than this knee-jerk reaction that they need to be punished for every little thing that they do that's not even geared towards correcting a behavior or redirecting a behavior.
Right,
You're just
right.
told they're not fit to be in with the rest of the group. They need to be removed. They're bad. They're not of value. And they begin to live up to those labels that are being put on them.
Yeah, I can't. I've been a parent for 30 years, and in that time, and across several different school districts, I have seen the evolution of what education looks like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so baffling to me. Like, when did resource officers start carrying guns, and what happened to officer friendly, and where are these components and these pieces that actually create cohesive restorative learning
Right.
and being able to um, hash things out with your peers. And now fighting is criminalized, and parents hate parents because they got an $800 fine. So now I'm gonna hate you too. You know, I gotta take a day off of work to go to court because two children had a disagreement. And it takes me back to the beginning of this conversation when we were talking about those elected officials.
That's right.
When we were talking about who's on our school boards. Are
Mhm.
you going to PTA meetings? Are you attending town halls? That's why these things are so important. It's why voting matters, because if we don't leverage the voice that we have, and I'm sorry, we're talking about Black men, and you know how much we love a good Black dad. You, you know how much we love a Black man and our Black sons, but the voice of a mother,
That's right. That's
the
it.
voice of a mother resonates differently. And I'll say it out loud. I will do hell in jail for my children, and I have never ever sugarcoated that.
Mhm.
And when people ask me my why, and if I'm feeling a little bit, gritty, I will say because I did not birth babies to bury them.
That's right.
That's why I can, 10 toes down, go in for mine. And I have. You've been there.
That's right.
Yeah, when
I was gonna call it. We've done this together.
we have. We've done it together. When I had to show up at a school board, meeting and really kind of use my voice. And so we talking about a lot of things. I don't want to get off track because we just touched on why voting is important. We just talked
Right.
about why the sisterhood is important, because when I needed to show up to a school board meeting, you were standing right there with me. We have talked about so many reasons why what Mob United does is so important,
That's right.
because it transcends the barriers that are socioeconomic,
Mhm.
religious beliefs, sexuality.
That's
We
right.
don't care about none of that. I don't care about any of that.
That's right.
I want to know where you need me to show up, and then I want to be there. And that is what Mob United has created over the last 7 years. Mob United has created a camaraderie that says, when you need me, we are going to show up, and I'm going to be there.
Yep.
We understand that through generations and through the history of our system, we have not always been taught how to leverage our voice,
That's right.
how to be strategic, how to have those conversations. So, mid-March, we'll be launching the Level Up series.
Mhm.
And it is just that we want to be the resource that teaches us, all of us, to level up, to understand um, what a local election is and how it impacts your community, what a town hall is, when you need to call your attorney general, when you need to call your councilman, when you need to call your city representative, and how that looks across our country. Because what we said was, it's different.
It's absolutely different. And you gave such a good analogy with what happened during the pandemic, and how, despite what was coming down the federal line, we all had different experiences because of our local government. Now, that's actually what impacts our day to day the most.
Mm-hmm.
What we experience the most, and our voices are so powerful. I truly believe that that's one way to keep us down and oppressed, is to not let us know the power of our voices.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember back when President Obama was elected, and it was just this mass of people who were registering to vote and voted for the very first time. And he was able to mobilize those folks. But we still have these history of folks who are, their first time was voting in presidential elections for whichever one it was, but need more to understand the power of their vote that they hold, not just in those federal elections, but everywhere else. And so that education is so important to know in your locale where you need to learn more, figure out who's representing you, figure out how you can use your voice to influence what's really going to impact you on the day to day very regularly. And yeah, like down here, just being in the county, it was powerful. I told you, I started off by saying we're in a blue city in a red state. We're in a blue county in a red state. And it causes so much conflict and disconnect. But that's why the experiences here in Houston can be very different than another city, in Texas, because we're red at the end of the day. And so whatever that means to you, we have to be cognizant of where to use our voice, where we're going to get, the most impact. Because there's some things that we complain about that are laws, policies, and regulations that we have the ability to change. We have the ability to stop that, but we're not looking at what's on the ballot, those propositions, those bonds, everything. But we want to complain after the fact when really we have a big voice.
And after the fact, that's a good point, because even if we've gotten the person we want in office, we still have a responsibility.
That's right.
We still have a responsibility to make sure that that platform that they ran on,
that's right,
that got us to go to the ballot box and actually vote for them, that they are still standing on that.
That's right.
Because far too often, we have these platforms that go forward and then we turn around and they doing something totally different. We're like, wait, but what happened?
That's right.
And we're lost in the sauce, like, wait, I stopped paying attention and what was supposed to happen didn't happen. When I was doing the research on what the Level Up series would look like, I did a quick Google search, and there are almost 4 million 12th graders who will graduate and become eligible to vote for this election year.
That's right.
That's a lot of bodies.
It is. When I was a principal, that's one thing that we did every year was to make sure that our seniors or whoever was 18 was registered to vote and that they understood the power of their vote. And having those voter registration drives, because they are a large voice. They're creating the world that they're going to live in, and so letting them know that they have power from the jump to be able to exercise their voice and educate them, that's, but we as parents as well have the responsibility of making sure our boys, if they're old enough, can exercise their power and know how to do that as well.
One thing that I have to say concerns me is in 2024, you can become TikTok famous and Instagram famous and Facebook famous, and there's a level of instant gratification, but there is also a level of resource that social media provides the younger generations, right? They don't need to do certain things in order to garner certain benefits.
Right.
And I wonder and I fear whether or not they are disenfranchised completely from the idea of what voting means, because at 18 and in that stage of I'm invincible, do they really know how much it does impact their lives moving forward? I don't hear a lot of young people talking about it.
And I think it's an epidemic for them as well. Not for specifically the TikTok app. I think they have the opportunity to be more informed than any other generation before them. There's so much free flowing of information on TikTok that piques your interest, that inspires you to research more, or you have some credible people who are sharing very powerful information. I think what has become the problem is the disillusionment when, as you said before, there are people who have been elected that don't seem to represent the people that elected them, or they're not seeing the benefits, the return on investment of taking the time to register and then show up at the ballot. But I think inherently the root cause of that is that they're not voting in the local elections. Because once again, when you elect the president, I mean, let's be real, there's this small trickle down effect. I mean, unless you're reading tweets, or something like that, you're not as immediately impacted by what that person is doing.
Mm-hmm.
However, those judges,
Mm-hmm.
so when you standing in front of that judge and they deciding whether to give you bail or not, and all of that, or whether the DA is going to press charges on you or not, or whether marijuana is going to be decriminalized or not, that's your local.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they're not getting this information in the schools. I can tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
Of how their local votes impact their day-to-day life. And so because there's a disconnect between, hey, y'all got me all charged up to go vote, I voted, and outside of this person being inaugurated, nothing happened that's relevant to me. But I think if we almost flipped it and said, if y'all start voting here, here, and here, take them to go speak at their own school board meetings, in their locations, their school districts and things like that, or hear what's going on and see that direct connection to the leaders that impact their everyday life, I think we would see some changes in perception of what their vote can do.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. We're gonna have to have a Houston field trip, right?
Oh, I would love that.
Yeah, Houston field trip and start doing. I mean, really, our boys are so articulate.
Mm-hmm.
They know what they want. They
That's right.
know what they want to see. They have no qualms about talking about the impact that this world has on them. We
Yeah.
just got to give them the stage.
That's right.
We just got to give them the stage. I see it. I see the field trip. I see,
Let's do it.
let's do it. That's what's up. If you're on the New Talk, I'm talking with Amber Williams. She is our Houston chapter leader. And if you have any questions for us about who MOBB United is, who we are, what chapter leadership is, what we're working on, please drop them in the chat. I would love to answer those questions. Amber would love to answer those questions. We are loving on the Black man. All the month of February, and just really kind of highlighting what it is that we do. Who funds us?
We do. Everybody. That's why we got text to give down there. And fundraisers are so important to us, because in order to do what we need to do to support our moms and their Black sons, we need the funds to be able to do that. And so you may notice, if you are associated with some MOBB United members or chapter leaders, you may have seen fundraisers go up this month for the month of February, to let you know your contribution matters. And giving what you can is important. So I have a goal. I have a personal fundraiser for my Houston chapter, and anywhere from $700 to $700. Please, we'll take it, because so much of what we do, the resources, the support, the physical things, when you want us to show up, we're there, but we got to be able to get there. We got to be able to travel to you, and all those kinds of things that come along with that, just to be able to make sure that we are serving moms and sons. So that's very important to us.
Yeah, we give our resource of time, and we give our resource of energy, and whatever our knowledge base is, and our expertise in our respective lives. But we also do give the resource of money. And many of you may have heard how MOBB United came about. And we started as a Facebook group, the Pelsha Magruder. Whoop, whoop, shout out to her and her ignorance on how Facebook works, because that's what started it all. That's what started it all. And 7 years later, the rest is history. But we started with our own dollars and cents.
That's right.
And when we travel on our dime. And most of us, we donate what we have, and it is it's a labor of love.
Yeah.
And I think at this point, 7 years later, we've responded to something like 57 incidents,
Yeah.
vigilante killings, police shootings, um, unjust arrests, where fortunately we didn't lose a life, but we certainly didn't have any shortage of trauma. And, we've had one-to-one conversations, we've shown up in homes, we've gone to funerals, we've supported the financial efforts of funerals. We have supported moms in more ways than we can count. And that takes the financial aspect.
Right.
We want to be able to continue to show up in that way. We want to be able to continue to support this community, our community, moms and sons. And so donate. Go
Yeah.
to mobunited.org/donate or text to give MobU to 44321. It is easy to do, but we are certainly looking to make sure that we have an opportunity to support, but we also want the opportunity to eradicate our mission and purpose.
Mm.
That is something that if I had the opportunity in my lifetime to say, we get to change the
Yeah.
mission and purpose of Mob United and why we advocate and why we use our voice, then my life would be fulfilled full circle
Yeah.
to know that when my children have children, they don't have to sit in this seat to say, I still need to use my voice in this way. I just want to tell somebody where to get jeans on sale. Their son then outgrew the old ones in 2 days.
That's right. Or
You
where to find a size 13 shoe in the latest Jordans. These are the important conversations we would like to have.
I want to have a conversation about that boy went and got a tattoo without my permission.
Lord have
You
mercy.
know,
Don't even get
I want that to be the thing that I have
Yeah.
to worry about the most.
Right.
I don't want to have to worry about when my son leaves my house.
That's right.
I don't want to have to worry about when a police officer mistakes my door for somebody else's.
That's correct.
And so it is really abolishing a generational curse that we did not create,
Mm.
that we have inherited, that has changed our DNA. It has
Mm-hmm.
changed how we've mothered. It has
Mm-hmm.
changed how we live. It has changed how we worry. It has changed how we pray. It has changed how we have done all of those things.
That's right.
And the way to do that is to donate,
Mm-hmm.
is to like us on our Facebook pages. It
Mm-hmm.
is to follow us on Instagram, on
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn. It is to become an ally. We've
Mm-hmm.
talked a lot about who we are as mothers to Black sons, but we need our allies too.
That's right.
If you are not a mom of a Black boy, that's okay. Show
Mm-hmm.
up anyway.
That's right.
Share our content, join our mailing list, listen in on our podcasts, support us in the ways that you can. You know, we need you as we continue to lift our voices.
Yeah.
We have a closed Facebook group that is dedicated to any mom that has a Black son.
Mm-hmm.
So the mom can be whoever, but if you are the primary caretaker or the mom of a Black son, then that group is for you.
That's right.
In that group, there are 166,000 women who rear Black boys.
Mm-hmm.
And while I would love to be proud of that number, it saddens me.
Mm-hmm.
There are 166,000 women who share the same fear we do,
Yep.
who have the same concerns we do, who are asking and talking about the same things that we are talking about. And it is the reason why they share the space with us,
That's right.
you know, and I want that space to change. I want who we are to change. And so this is my 90-second commercial. The way you help us is chapter leadership, be an ally, donate, follow,
Mm-hmm.
like, and share. And then do your due diligence. Go out and vote. Let your voice be heard. You will never find us coming up here and telling you who to vote for, how to vote. But it is, especially as Black people, it is beyond our duty.
Mm-hmm.
We stand on the shoulders, and that is not an exaggeration. We literally stand on the shoulders of so many who have um, paved the way for that right. And we owe it to ourselves to let that continue to be the legacy that we share forward. So we're almost at time. I don't see any questions. Amber, thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to give you, a few moments to give your closing remarks and share what's coming next for Houston.
Well, I just have to say thank you for having me. The conversation has been wonderful. And every time I have conversations like this, it just re-energizes me, re-motivates me to keep pressing on, because we know life be life, and and sometimes it's just difficult. But when you have that, like you said, you painted it so vividly of where we want to be. I know what I want for my boys. I know I want to see my grandchildren. I want to see them living long, healthy lives. And so I'm doing my part while I'm able-bodied, while I have the resources, the time, and the bandwidth to be able to engage in this way. And so in Houston, I really just want to give the shout out to all of our Houston mobs, for one, for just being connected. But if you're in the Houston area, and the greater Houston area, so I'm calling out all the suburbs too, you count too, get connected. Just get connected, because we're going to, for one, be focused on voting and making sure we're mobilized here in the city of Houston, and that the issues that are prevalent to us, that we're exercising our voices here. But then also to connect. That's really where I want to be in 2024, is to connect, to let everyone in Houston know who's a mob, that we're here, we have each other, we're going to do the work together, and we're going to love on our boys together.
Amen. Amen. Visit our website to find out if there's a chapter in your area. And if there isn't a chapter in your area, we'll show you how to start one.
That's right.
Join us next week for our next podcast. It will be on Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central Time. Thank you so much for joining us. And I look forward to connecting with you all. You guys have a good night.